Are you doing this work to facilitate growth or to become famous? Which is more important, getting or letting go?
Oh man, all right, so let's talk about heaven on earth and how to work to get to that point within yourself. So when we born into this realm we call earth and shit, when we born into this life, we born into a journey. When we born, we begin a journey not wanting or really needing anything. We just have our basic needs. We need to eat, we need to stay healthy, little love, little hugs and stuff like that, and get our pamper changed when we need to be changed, just basic shit. As we grow, we start to become more and more influenced and by the outside world. So the outside world start telling us who we are, what we should do, where we should be, who we should deal with, how we should be, and all of that. And because those influences are coming from people that are our caretakers, that are close to us, we buy into the shit. And we allow our minds and our hearts to be one with those beliefs. And by default, we become a product of our environment in some shape or form, right? Especially here in America. So we wind up magnifying our wants, magnifying our needs, getting our wants and needs confused. It's to the point people can't move or do certain things. They become damn near paralyzed if they don't have their nails done, or they don't have a haircut, or they don't have a certain type of car or a certain type of outfit. I ain't saying you're not supposed to want nice shit. I ain't saying you're not supposed to want to go places. I'm not saying you're not supposed to want to have the finer things in life. But for those things to be put before, just your basic satisfaction, your basic contentment, your purpose, you get in a gray area where you start separating more and more from your core of who you truly are and what you truly are. Now, of course, most of y'all that listen, y'all already know I'm not religious in no shape or form, but let's just talk about the one line in the Bible that kind of encapsulates everything I'm talking about right now. The line I'm talking about is, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven until you become like a child again, right? Now, let's dig into that a little bit. And let's make it, let's make it quick. So, when you look at that, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven until you become like a child again. Let's go back to when we was children. We didn't have no worries. We didn't have no wants. We didn't really have no needs. We was just here. We was one with the universe. We was one with God. We understood that everything was provided for us. So we was never looking outward. You feel me? And like I said, so as these influences come along and influence you and put a spell on you and make you believe that you need more and more and more and more, and build your ego up. And like I always say, the nature of the ego is accumulation. Whether it's accumulation of a narrative or accumulation of actual things and people and places. So we get to a point where, damn, now we using unknowingly a lot of times, and sometimes knowingly, we get to a place where we using the relationship as a hole to fill a hole up. We using our car, our job, just whatever we could hold on to on the outside of us to point to our happiness. We're using these things for our happiness. I don't really like the word happiness neither, because happiness is based on what's happening. But what I'm getting to is, what do you got to do to get back to that space within yourself to where all of the things outside of you are secondary? That's what the whole work is about. That's what we're here for. That's the true journey. Because once you come back to that place, then you become back, like I said, like we was as a child, you become back one with God. You realize that there is no separation. So all of these things, all of these places, all of these relationships are being used as a separation between you and you. And furthermore, as we dig more deep into religion, because a lot of people have a religious idea of heaven and believe that heaven is for the afterlife. So what is this life for? What are you here to realize in this life? That's a question we have to answer for ourselves. That's a question we got to start asking ourselves over and over again. So as we buy into the bullshit, as we buy into thinking we need this and wanting these other things to fulfill us, right? All we do is create more and more suffering, because what happens when you don't have these things? You sit up there and you dwell on having it. You sit up there and dwell on having this person and having this certain endless love and shit like that. And it all stems from separation within yourself. And like I said, that separation happens early on when you start to be influenced and start to be told who you are, who you're not, and who you should be. You feel me? So now we live in a world where you have mass media productions, a lot of psychological operations that play on your belief that you need some shit, your belief that you don't have everything you need at this moment. That's why it'd be funny when I talk to people and I'm like, yo, they always telling me they need this, they need that, or, you know, and they be in distress about it. And I'm like, well, you seem to be getting by without it. So in reality, once you take that filter off of wanting and needing shit, in reality, you have everything you need. So if you come to this realization, you will have heaven on earth, because you will become back one with life and separation. And see, here's the thing about this reality that we live in. Like, once you become a person that's materially, I think I'm saying that word right, thriving in a material way, what we like to call being grown and shit, then nobody can't tell you nothing, because you could pay your bills and you can travel and you could pretty much feel like you got the freedom to do what you want. But if you being driven by those things, then it's null and void, period. You know what I'm saying? But that's the reality we live in, and this is the reality of where motherfuckers is just willingly suffering through lack of awareness. And not only suffering, but have a pride about it. People actually wake up in the morning, I'm rise and grind, and let's put in work. I get it, you know what I'm saying? You got to put in work somewhere and all that, but for that to be your badge of honor and shit like that, for that to be the thing that you uphold for your identity, for it to say who you are, and that's where you get your sense of self from, absolutely lost, you absolutely losing. And in between those things, between having those things and not having those things, it's suffering in between that. So when a motherfucker die, it be their birth date, that dash be they suffering, and then the end of their suffering. And that be it. But you can actually live a life where you're not suffering from your attachments. And you able to experience fulfillment from within yourself, and that shit is endless, man. That's all.